LT Senior Services is a nonprofit, and our nonprofit helps older adults as they progress through their life. And one of the things that we do is we do these webinars, and they're on all different kinds of topics. And today it's aging in place. We're really excited to have you here today. Before we get started, we wanted to introduce some of our members. They're lined up over here, and they're just going to come up and they're going to talk for 1 minute and just tell us about their business and how they can help older adults. Morgan, you are being shy, aren't you, in the back? You come up first. She's not even in the lineup, and last month she didn't even speak. And I'll tell you, the library has been the best supporter of LTC. So tell us about what's going on in the library.
I also can't stop myself from giving a microphone tutorial.
Thank you.
It's a little bit awkward, but you have to shove it right by your mouth or else people can't hear. So y'all can be my test case. If you can't hear me, anyway, hello, I'm Morgan from the library. I am going to sell you on 2 things. Number 1, we have tech coaches, technology help. We are here for you. Monday through Thursday, 12 until 2, drop in. You can get one-on-one help on your iPhone, on your computer, on printing something, on learning the Facebook app, anything, come and see us. We also have online classes every Wednesday at 10:30. Kara Scott in the back of the room is one of our teachers, and those are really popular and well attended also. So think of us for tech help. Number 2, we have a home delivery service. I can bet that anybody who needs that service is probably not in this room right now, but you might know somebody who might need the service. I'm giving everybody homework. Help us find those people. It's a free service. We'll talk with the person who can tell us, hey, these are the things I like to read. These are the things I like to watch on TV and movies. Once a month, we'll drop by a bag of books and items. The next month, we'll pick them up and drop off more. So please help us spread the word about that free service. So thank you, Cyndi, for giving me that.
All right. Mr. Gidley. He's helping someone come in the door, such and such and that. You are not
being shy.
No, she's not shy. She's not shy, no.
Thank you, Cyndi. Mr. Gidley makes me feel old. You can call me Scott, please. I'd just like to thank everyone for attending. I was approached by Cyndi over 5 years ago to be a part of the founding of this organization, and she does a great job. So I'd really like to spend most of my time to say thank you for putting this together and through COVID, sustaining it and maintaining stuff online and look at the come on, Marilyn.
No, I'm saying, look at mic up to
There's a teacher teaching. I met Cyndi 20 years ago when we worked on the Lake Travis Education Foundation. Both of my daughters attended school here and were taught by Cobb in calculus. My wife's a retired banker, and I'm a financial services professional. I've lived in the community for over 30 years. Done a lot of volunteer work. Part of the financial planning that I do, and a necessary part for retirement people, is Medicare insurance planning. So I am an independent Medicare insurance agent. I represent numerous companies, and I try to help you in understanding what it's all about and what options are available to you. So thanks.
All right, thank you. There are 2 microphones.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Estella Hilton, and I'm here with Adela Gonzalez. We represent the Brookdale community here in Lakeway. I am at the Brookdale Lomans Crossing next to the Lakeway Church, and Adela is at the community right across the street from us here. We represent all the lines of care, assisted living, independent living, skilled nursing. We do provide services such as hospice and home care so that you can age in place in your home or at a community here at Brookdale.
And good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, so tomorrow we are having a conversation and aging presentation over at the Brookdale Lakeway community. We do have some flyers out there. It's going to be a live presentation, and they're going to be discussing, Ms. Tish is going to be discussing the topic of healthy eating And she's gonna be introducing her items from her garden and talk about gardening, I think, her own home. Thank you for having us, and we look forward to seeing you there tomorrow
What time?
at 2 p.m.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. And we do have additional information in the back of all of our members, and we'll leave that there. So afterwards, the members will be here and or their stuff will be back there. So please come and see. Well, this is going to be our speaker next month, I think. So super excited to have her. Have you introduce yourself and then talk about what we're talking about.
Sounds great. Good morning, everybody. My name is Whitney Myers, and I'm a personal historian specializing in video biographies. So individuals or families hire me to interview themselves or their loved ones, and we make a mini movie featuring the stories of their life. I also enjoy speaking to groups about reminiscence research and how memories get encoded in our brains and different life story methods and active listening and all things story. And I am your speaker next month. Our topic is collecting family stories. So I hope to see you and bring a friend.
Thank you.
Oh, and my business is Sacred Stories, sacredstoriesfilms.com.
Great. We have a variety of different topics, as you can see. It will interest different people, but I'm super excited about that one. And we have another speaker and actually another member, and she's going to tell us about an event that she has coming up at her property too.
Hello, everyone. Laura Dutton with Longleaf Beach. It's a newer community near the Discount Tire on 620. It's down the hill. Assisted living and memory care, all-inclusive pricing. So if you know anyone who needs to maybe have a better quality of life in a community. And then we are hosting, I got the idea from an event Cyndi hosted. We're having a shredding. You can bring your shredding to our community on May 17th. I'll have flyers. I don't have one yet. Drop it off, make a donation, and half of the proceeds go to Cyndi's organization, this like Lake Travis Senior Services, and the other half of the donations will go to Chariot. They offer complimentary rides to seniors. They're looking for volunteers and funds. So it's Laura with Longleaf Bee Cave, and I'll get you, I don't have a flyer yet, but we'll figure out a way to get it out. So thank you.
All right.
Good morning. Thank you, Cyndi, for putting this whole thing together.
Oh, second.
Yeah, like a rock star.
My name is Maya Kern and I'm with Humana. And I'm here to service you in any way that you need relating to your Humana plan. So if you are already a Humana member and you need help with some claims or have a question, I'm happy to help you with that. Also, anything relating to Medicare. If you have any questions or if you're turning 65 and want to know about your options with Humana, I'm happy to help you with that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Bobby's here. Woohoo! Our speakers, we're getting to that point. We do have a document up front and it talks about our remaining events for the year. So in May, it's collecting family stories. It'll be here. In June, it's assistive devices and fall prevention. In July, it's decluttering your home. It's a favorite one. Heart health risks and treatments, thriving in retirement, shred days, whole bunch of stuff. And the Aging Well Expo. I'm going to ask Morgan to turn the air down. Did you turn? Yeah. Woo, am I the only one? So without further ado, we're going to have our speakers come up here. We've got these cute little seats up here. And I'm going to actually read their bio. We do have another event. It's a bus tour. It's a Lakeway Heritage Bus Tour. It's on Friday, February 5th. Friday, May 5th. We are full. We have filled it up. We have 19 people going. I'm so excited. But if you want to come ahead of time, you can come to our pre-party. And then the bus people will get on the bus. And we do have a waiting list. So if you do want to still come, you can get on the waiting list for that. So let me see if I can find my bios. This is always so awkward because I'm on the panel too. How do I read my own bio? I gotta figure that out. Amy, I think I'll just like read the first paragraph. It's like a whole page too. Just the first paragraph. And I'll blush.
Cyndi Cummings is the most wonderful human being. Oh, it doesn't say that.
No.
Okay, I'll get this. This is Cyndi Cummings from Turnkey Transitions. She is a realtor, broker assistant, and president of Cummings. Second one?
It is.
Okay,
Just put it up closer, like rock star.
Like
I'm a rock star.
like Eden.
Yeah.
Okay. With more than 20 years of experience in the Central Texas real estate market, she is considered the leading authority on issues relating to downsizing, late life moves, and 55+ senior living solutions. Say that with a. Let's see.
That's enough.
You should.
Yeah. It's like a whole page. I'm gonna have to work on condensing that down. Thank you, Bobby. Okay, so Bobby is with FirstLight Home Care. He's a native from Alabama, but has spent his development years growing up in Cleveland, Ohio. He had graduated from Ohio University with a BBA degree in marketing. I'm from Oregon State. Did anybody go to Oregon State? I even put a sticker on my car. I'm trying to find Oregonians. I can't find them. There's not very many here. Bobby has held a number of sales management, customer marketing, and business development positions with Fortune 500 companies such as Goodyear Tire and Rubber, BP Oil Company, Frito-Lay, and Colgate Palmolive. He formed Scruggs Family Holdings in 2018, and it serves as the parent company of his franchise, FirstLight Home Care. Bobby is currently president and CEO of FirstLight Home Care of Austin, where he and his team provide non-medical home care services for seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, and those recuperating at home. He also serves as the board of directors for the Austin Kappa Education and Leadership Foundation as its treasurer and co-chairman of fundraising. When he's not working, Bobby enjoys playing golf, traveling, and spending time with his wife of over 30 years, Michelle, and his 2 adult children. Bobby attributes his career success by living by this simple but powerful operating philosophy. I believe that God will provide me with everything that I want in this life if I'm willing to help others to get what they really want. Love that. And you're a very great person too. Amy is at the end, and she is, her company name is so awesome. It is Aging is Cool. And I've known her for many years. And when that name, came up with that name, I was like, yes, aging is cool. We need to keep on saying that. I know some people came in and they're like, I'm not sure. For over 30 years, Amy has committed her work to improving the lives of older adults in some form or fashion. From her time as social worker in nursing homes and home health care to executive roles in older adult focused nonprofit agencies. And as a consultant and business owner, Amy has served caregivers, individuals with dementia and disabilities, and nonprofit leaders. She's passionate about issues related to living a full life, active aging, and ageism. She has a master's degree in human services from St. Edward's University and has been called upon time and time again to develop relationships and create change in communities and organizations. She's an innovative thinker with a commitment to authentic leadership, problem solving, and working with systems to implement change. Amy and her husband founded Aging and Cool is, 2016. Wow. With a dream to create smart, engaging, fun activities for older adults and to address ageism in the world around them. In 2020, Aging is Cool partnered with Heart and Soul Care to create and launch A Mighty Good Time. A Mighty Good Time is actually a website that you can go to that has a calendar of events all over the nation, all over the world. All over the world. So it starts small, got kind of big. So you can go there and you can see online events that you can go to, and then you can see events that you can go to that are live. So it's pretty cool. Anybody gone to any of Aging and Cool events at the lake? You've been at the community center, haven't you, out here?
Oh, gosh, a long time ago, I think.
A long time ago, yeah. So they're all over the place. So welcome. So today we're going to talk about aging in place. Let me just get to my next set of notes. There's a whole packet. And this is actually a topic, Bobby, I saw, we've talked on this before. And Amy and I have spoken about this topic before because why? It's a hot topic. What we find is most people want to age in place. And then what we find is most people don't have a plan to age in place. And so some event happens, something happens to them physically, mentally, or whatever. And because they have no plan, other people are making decisions for them. And so we love doing these kinds of events at the library because most of the time the people who are coming to our events are planners. And they're saying, I want to take control of my life. I do want to age in place. How do I do that? So first, just what is the definition of aging in place? It's the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income, or ability level. So there's really 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 things that you have to consider when you're thinking about aging in place. And that's why we have the experts here on the panel, because each of us will talk about some of those things. So the first thing is to talk about how important the social or socialization is, both for, well, we've heard about the cigarettes and blah, 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 how many packs of cigarettes. It's equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes, half a pack of cigarettes a day, if you are not socially engaged. So it's super important to stay socially engaged, not sitting and watching TV, right? Obviously, you guys are not sitting watching TV, those guys are home, right? But you may know those people. So Amy's gonna talk a little bit about some of the socialization and things that you can do so that you can age in place well.
Thank you. So, like Cyndi said, we've all seen the research and this was, you know, particularly during the pandemic, we saw this a lot more, right? A lot of us were isolated and it's multi-generational, but we've been concerned for a long time about older adults being isolated. And as you get to places where you may not be able to, you know, drive as much or have as many places to go, you may find yourself being at home longer. And what the science is saying is that it is really bad for your health on a lot of levels to be socially isolated. And there's a difference between being alone and being socially isolated, right? So some of us like to be alone. I like to be alone, right? I have those moments. I don't need to be talking all the time, but it's really important that we engage with other people on a regular basis, even if you have to schedule it in. And it's one of those places that we don't often think about when we are home alone and maybe not able to access people. So when we communicate and we connect with people, we actually empower our brains in a really big way. And we find that people who are socially isolated can show a cognitive decline. We see that there's depression. We see that they don't eat as well. They don't sleep as well. But when you think about when you're talking to somebody, if I'm talking to Bobby, I'm making eye contact. I'm watching his face. I'm listening to his words. I'm thinking of a response, right? So there's a lot of things going on. So what I really try to encourage people to do is to try and connect at least 2 to 3 times a week with somebody else. That could be a friend, that could be a family member, it could be a class online, it could be here at the library, whatever those things are for you. In terms of being home though, if you were homebound and unable to get out and about, Cyndi mentioned a mighty good time. So we built a website, it's a one-stop shop for activities. It was meant to be nationwide, now we have international people. We have about 200 different organizations that post their events and activities on our site. There's a combination of free and paid activities. We've got everything from, you know, local nonprofits all the way up to, you know, Rhodes Scholar program that does some really high level travel programming. You can find fitness activities, you can find brain activities, crafts, dancing, lifelong learning. It's all there for you. So whether you're at home and you need to be virtual, or if you'd like to do things in person, you can find things to do. So we just really encourage you to engage at whatever levels.
Tell us about one of the travel one. I think I heard you talking.
Oh,
about the travel.
you know, sadly, they're going out of business, but there is virtual travel. Has anybody done virtual travel? Fascinating. So if you love to travel and you haven't done this before, there are some organizations. One that just closed down was called Hago, but there's one called World Virtual Tours. And you literally are online in a Zoom type situation with a live tour guide who might be standing at the foot of the pyramids in Egypt. I watched a sunrise over Sydney Harbor Bridge, and I grew up in Australia, I haven't been back in like 30 years, and got to have that moment. And very often you can interact with that tour guide and ask questions, and they're fascinating. And some of them you could tip the tour guide online. And so if you love touring and you don't, you don't get the opportunity to do that anymore,
virtual tours are a really fascinating way to do that. And that lifelong learning, all that's so good for your brain, to keep that kind of interaction going.
And then you said something about, I forget the acronym, HOLA. So it's, you can take classes online with universities. Tell us.
Oh, yeah, the Ollie Lifelong Learning Institutes that are, and Oasis are some big companies, or I say companies, they're nonprofits that do a lot of really smart lifelong learning kinds of programs, and you can access those online as well. San Francisco State does some great stuff. We've got some stuff coming out of Colorado, Oregon. You can get on there. And again, some of them have a small fee, but it could be as low as $12. And you may have actually a university, physics scientist doing research on DNA that's your presenter. I mean, it's really smart stuff. And then there's just fun stuff. You can do laughter yoga. There's a lot of things out there. I think every day we have at least 30 to 50 different activities, at least online, that you can do. So lots and lots of opportunities.
Tell us about some of your live classes and where do you go and how do those work?
So Aging is Cool. We do recreational activities for older adults. We do these predominantly in residential communities, Longleaf, Brookdale, and all of those. And we have about 40 instructors, and we teach over 100 classes, and we go into these locations. So, along with the, whatever activity departments they have, we're supplementing those activities. We also do a free class online every day. We do three fitness classes, one brain training, and one lifelong learning online every week. A lot of fun, love to have you. Very personal. It's mostly people in this region that attend those. We have folks that have been attending for 5 years who are lifelong friends because of that. So does anyone engage in virtual activities?
What is your?
Agingiscool.com. There's a button at the top of the page that says older adults. If you click that, it'll take you to our full schedule, and all of those are free. And they're all adapted. So the fitness classes, the stretching, all of that is adapted for seated or standing.
So when you look at like the whole person, how important is the social? And we've got food, sleep, blah, 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 all the different things that make you be a stronger, better person. How important is the social, would you say?
For us, we think that there are kind of 5 really important things. It's the fitness, the brain health, socialization, purpose and meaning, and a sense of humor. And I think and gratitude. I think we work out, right? We think about that, but we don't actively think about our brain health, and we don't very often actively think about socialization as being a really good thing for us to do. And all of those things together help look at us as a very whole being. We're not just our physical needs. We're not just our financial needs as we get older, right? It's fine if you want to take care of, mom or dad, or someone takes care of you and you make sure that they're fed, and that they, that their bills are paid and they're in a safe environment. But what if they're not talking to anybody all day long? What if you're not engaging with other people? What if you get up every day and there's no sense of joy because there's no purpose to your experience? That's all part of it. And we have an individual right now who is nearly 100, living with her family. They do beautiful care for her. I mean, they do everything she needs. And she tells us every day how lonely she is, and how sad she is, and how she wishes she could, move back to Austin. She had to move away during the pandemic. She used to have meaning and connection, and now she's in a new place and she doesn't know anybody. So whether you're building that for the person you're caring for, or building that for yourself, it needs to be part of this conversation about aging in place. My husband and I don't have children. We're going to have to very actively think about how we build this for ourselves as we age. And it's not just about that care, it's about those other relationships that make us whole, right? And fill them.
Do you have a class on purpose?
We do have a class on purpose. You're so good.
Well, I was just thinking.
We do a whole class actually on all those 5 elements, and purpose and meaning being part of that. We also do some programs on volunteering and how to get engaged that way. It's going to be a great way to find purpose in your life, and lots of volunteering options that you can even do at home. My mother started writing classes for us a few years ago. On history and science and pop culture. She does all the research for us. Prior to that, I was watching her be more depressed, She was having more memory issues. There was a lot of things going on that were really disconcerting to me. And when we asked her to start engaging in this with us and volunteering her time, she doesn't charge me for the time, which is great. Oh my gosh, has her life changed. Her mood's positive. She's constantly coming up with a new topic, and she teaches every week on Thursdays online. She's one of our free classes. And it changed her life because it was something to get up for every day. And now she's also interacting with other people. And she couldn't do that before because she, has physical limitations and wasn't able to get out.
What do you think about COVID? Do you feel like it helped, hurt? In some ways, I feel like it kind of helped.
That's
you
so
know?
interesting. I actually spoke on a panel yesterday with the city. It was very interesting. And one of the gentlemen from Meals on Wheels, he's the fabulous new executive director of Meals on Wheels, said, I actually think COVID helped in some ways because it made us get really creative about how we connect people, right? I mean, how many of you have been on Zoom before COVID? None of us. We weren't using that. And it opened all these new doors. There were also new programs like care calls and other ways that people were being supported that are so important. And we just weren't innovative till we had to be innovative. And so it has opened new doors. It also, caused a lot of problems. I don't have to get into that for you.
Yeah. We're gonna keep it upbeat. I love that humor is part of, because sometimes I don't see a lot of humor as people get older. It's just.
Yeah, you have to laugh. I used to run an Alzheimer's support group way back in the day. And there was a woman whose husband had early onset Alzheimer's, so he was in his 50s. And she said, I came home today and he was mowing the lawn, riding lawnmower in his underwear. And she just laughed. And she said, at least he still mows the damn lawn. And it was, you have to find those little moments of joy. I wasn't laughing at him. It was a funny moment. What in the world did the neighbors think? You just have to have that moment. So we have to find those places.
Yeah, great. So that was great, wasn't it? So as a realtor, oftentimes I will go and meet with people and they say, I need to move because I can't get food anymore. And I don't have transportation. So when that happens, I offer them alternative transportation because there's lots of alternative transportation. So you should not have to move because you can't get food. And that's one of the things that I think that COVID really helped with was that retailers got really creative about getting goods to us. And now I see a lot of older adults who are able to stay in their home. I have one client who hasn't driven in 2 years and she lives on her own. Now, this does not mean she doesn't have people come in and make sure her needs are met and her family visits and things like that. But I was meeting with her and she got a ping on her phone and she's 84. So she got a little ping on her phone. She looked down and she said, oh, HEB doesn't have some of the apples I want. And I thought, you know what, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, she may not have even had an app. And then I'm sure she wasn't ordering her food online. But what I loved about it was she's taking control of her life. She's ordering her food. She's not getting the food that her kids think she needs, because that would be different than what she wants. And I guarantee you, there were some good and plenties in there and some other things that her kids would be like, you can't have that. That's not good to have. So in that sense, I do feel like COVID really helped because we do have more delivery services. But the whole transportation thing, it's a problem in Austin. Do you think we have a problem with transportation in the Lake Travis area? It's terrible. It is terrible. And that's because we have no public transportation. So because of that, there are several nonprofits who have stepped up and they are providing transportation. So the first is the Lakeway, I'm gonna say it wrong, the League. Does anyone know? Thank you. Sometimes I get in front of y'all and I go for the wrong. So thank you. The Service League of Lakeway. They do drives for people who need to get to the doctors. That is really what their whole thing is. They also have a lending, equipment lending. And I love that because sometimes you just need a scooter for a while for your knee or a walker for a while because you had a hip replacement. They have equipment that they lend out. So they've got a lending. So I love that they do that. Anybody here with the Lions Club? Anybody volunteer with the Lions Club? Well, we don't have Meals on Wheels out here. No, there's no Meals on Wheels. So the Lions Club said, okay, we have people who need to get meals. So they went to local restaurants And there's a different restaurant each day and they prepare the meals. And I think it was 18 to 20 people that they probably serve per day, and that could change. And then they have drivers come and pick up the meals and deliver the meals. So what happens is when there's a gap, smart people get together and they figure it out. So that's the Lions Club. So if you have anybody who you feel like is not getting good nutrition, and part of that is just the lifting, opening up a can. I mean, it's just can be hard, maybe just temporarily, while you've gone through some incident. But also for people, just as you age, sometimes it's harder to make your own meals. So look into the Lions Club because they have that meal delivery, which is really cool. Another transportation service that you may not heard about, it is called Chariot, which is formerly Drive a Senior. So Chariot helps in the Lake Travis area, Dripping Springs, South Austin. In different regions throughout the city, there are other, I'm going to call them, they're separate nonprofits who also do driving. So if you have a friend in Northwest Hills, they would go to a different nonprofit to find out who could drive for them. But for here, it's called Chariot. You go to chariot.org. When you go to chariot.org, you can apply to have somebody help with driving. And so the intention here is to help older adults who are non-driving, but it's not just medical. They really see the benefit in doing social activities. And so, for example, they drove people to our Aging Well Expo. So they'll drive you to go get your haircut. And what's nice about it is there are lifelong relationships that are built from this driving. So if y'all want to volunteer, it is extremely fulfilling and wonderful. It's a portal to go to and you see who needs drives. And so it'll say Ms. Smith needs to go from Lakeway to get her hair done and then pick her up an hour and a half later. And you can choose that ride or not. And it's just extremely, they're so grateful and thankful. So there's no charge for those drives. They also have buses. The buses take people to HEB on certain days in different geographic areas. So if you have somebody like my mom, although she's mostly housebound and she barely drives, she has a car. It's in my driveway, takes up my driveway. But anyway, not ready to give up the car. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I hope she starts driving again. I'd love for her to. But if she wanted to go to HEB, they would come pick her up every week and take her. She loves to go through HEB and just go up and down the aisles and spend 3 hours. I'll have that time. So anyway, so that's Chariot. Has anybody ever used Chariot before in the Lake Travis area? No? It is an awesome, awesome nonprofit. So I recommend that you check that out. So if you have any neighbors that you feel like could use that service. Scott, did you have a question?
I just point out, Medicare Advantage plans offer transportation services to clients to take them to the doctors. And even though I'm independent and I'm wearing my healthcare speaker today, I would point out that Humana has probably one of the best utility plans.
So you really have to get creative and you have to ask people questions. So if you're trying to get to the doctors and you can't get there, just keep on asking questions. Isn't there another way? Can't we figure this out? And thank you for that. There are other opportunities for transportation. So we're just talking about a couple of them. Okay, so while I'm at the house, I have some other needs that need to be met. And Bobby's company actually helps with in-home services. And some of the services that he provides allows people to stay in their home longer. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your services and maybe some scenarios of how you help people to stay in their home longer?
Sure.
Rock star.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for the invitation, Cindy. I'm thrilled to be here and see so many faces in the audience. My name is Bobby Scruggs, and I own and operate, and I use the term operate because I'm boots on the ground every day, 7 days a week sometimes, with our business. And my wife is a co-owner, but she also teaches middle school math, so I don't get much time out of her during the school year. But on the weekends and during the summers we do. But as Cindy said, we help people to live safely and comfortably in their own homes. Now, if I ask everyone in the room, and I won't want you to put your hand up, if you would rather age in place or age somewhere else, 80% of you would say, I'd rather age in place. The challenge with that is, most of the time, people don't do, and Cyndi mentioned it earlier, they don't do the homework up front to figure out whether that's the best option for them. So let's talk about services first. So we offer everything from all non-medical home care. So the difference between what we do and what a home health company would do, home health does physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and wound care. We don't do any of that.
What's the name of your company?
FirstLight Home Care of Austin.
FirstLight.
FirstLight, yeah. And so we offer things like companion care, travel companions. I'm actually sending a caregiver to California next week to help a lady move to a new Brookdale community in California. We do light housekeeping, laundry. We do all of the activities of daily living, so personal care. We also provide transportation to and from doctor's appointments. I get calls a lot from people who do same-day surgeries where they can't go home alone, and you can't have Uber to take you home because of some anesthesia you may have been under. So we do that kind of transportation as well on a temporary basis. But most of our clients are older adults, they're veterans. So we have a relationship with the VA where we take care of a number of veterans in Travis, Hayes, Williamson, and Bastrop counties. And then we also do, I'm missing something.
Let me look through our past slides.
Meal preparation, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the thing that I tell people when I go out and meet with them in their homes, and a lot of times, older adults, my mom included, she's 84, be 85 in a couple of months. So I can use her as a benchmark for a lot of the conversations that I have with families. But a lot of people think that by bringing in a home care agency like us, they're going to be losing their independence. When actually the opposite is true. If you bring in someone to help you do those everyday routine tasks that maybe aren't giving you the social engagement that Amy talked about, not giving you, I don't know anybody would say that washing dishes is good exercise. But if somebody would do that for you, then that would give you more time to focus on doing exercises, whether it's in the chair at home or whether it's outside walking or whatever the case may be. So I like to tell people, just make sure that you do your homework. And there are a lot of good resources out there to help you kind of make that decision about aging in place. And I think the number one thing is to understand what your network is, who your network is. Because it's one thing to say, well, yeah, I'd like to live at home, but we don't have anybody to help us. And I'll give you a scenario that just happened. So gentleman is 91, his wife is 89, wife has dementia. He's been taking care of her himself at home. He's got some severe back problems. So he finally was convinced to bring in some help. He says, well, I only want to start with 12 hours a week. Okay. So that worked out. We're in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the afternoons. And then he says, well, I'm really not getting much sleep at night because she's up and she's wandering around and she's knocking over things. So what happens on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and during the times of the day when we're not there? Well, the poor guy's exhausted. And so he was, no, I'm still resistant to bringing in more care. I can do this. I got this. Well, then just yesterday, we had an incident where the wife, and we think it was related to a urinary tract infection, became violent with the caregiver, and they had to end up taking her to urgent care. He had to call his daughter. Oh, and by the way, talking about support systems. One daughter lives in Massachusetts, the other one lives in Europe. They can't help you much from a distance. So I think I know that's a long answer to a short question.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things that we address with families on a daily basis. And we can certainly help fill those gaps. But the other thing is you also have to know when you don't have enough. And then sometimes it's a financial decision, and sometimes it's an emotional decision because you need to be attached to someone, like Amy said, socially. So in a lot of cases, it's better for someone to move into a community where they're with like-minded people and they have access to multiple activities and things to do on a daily basis, exercise classes and things like that. That you won't do at home when you're sitting in your lazy boy.
Mhm.
There's a reason they didn't name that an ambitious man's chair.
I'm gonna turn this back on, see if I can ask you some questions. So when you talk about, whoops, can you hear me? No.
Hold down the button.
Hold down. Good thing you're in here, Morgan.
Green light, add battery.
Red light, red light. I'm gonna take your mic away. When you talk about this caregiver, which we see a lot of, this kind of situation in this age group, I feel like. Because I feel like the older generation is very dedicated to their spouse. And probably we don't see that as much with the younger. Maybe we'll see it. I don't know. I'm just not seeing
You don't
it.
have much for us.
No. It's just that they are so determined to do it alone, over and over again. And I recently had a caregiver who had been taking care of his wife, didn't take care of himself. His wife had dementia, and he had a medical condition that he did not address, and he passed away. And because he was so dedicated to her, he wouldn't even go to the doctors, you know? So when this gentleman wouldn't take this care at night, do you think he will now because he realizes that he needs to get a good night's sleep? Or does an incident like this help them or not?
Well,
I think
it depends. I guess the one thing I didn't mention is that they have a neighbor across the street who's been their neighbor for over 50 years, and he leans on her a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to say that while that's good that they have someone there, that's not really fair to me.
no,
The neighbor's 75 years old herself,
right.
and I'm sure if you ask her how she wanted to spend her later years, it wouldn't be taking care of the neighbor across the street. Right? So, because we all have our own lives to lead. I certainly hope that this incident will kind of change his mind, but he's a very stubborn individual.
Yes.
Yeah, and I run across that. And what we try to do is, again, talk to people about their situation and ask them to identify who's your network. And if something happens, what are you gonna do? You talk about home modifications. I read this cartoon the other day that had a lady who was walking in her home with a walker, and she got right to the front of the steps, and the caption said, "I have found the enemy, and the enemy is you," because of the stairs. So,
Yeah.
there are lots of different considerations that people have to make, but I think the number one consideration is to figure out who's going to help you.
I just want to add something because I was having a conversation with my mother about this, and my mother lives with us. And there's a place where we all want to be good caregivers, but you also have to think about what kind of care receiver you want to be.
Mhm.
And how do we graciously move into those places where we do need to take care and be able to accept it and to have those conversations early, so when the time comes, it doesn't feel like somebody's taking something away from us, right? That's, aging is not always cool. And life changes, and sometimes we need more help. And I think just focusing a little bit on who do I want to be as a care receiver, so there's a positive relationship between my spouse and I, my kids and I, whoever has to step into that role for you. Because, the saying is, if you're not, a caregiver yet, you probably will be, or you're going to receive care. We're going to be one or the other. So, how do you get prepared to be both?
Mhm. Are there I think there are some groups, and I'm looking back at Laura and Estella. Do you have some groups that caregivers meet and talk about things like that? Do you guys have that at your community? Do you have caregivers come in, and do you have groups where they can talk about how it is to take care of people?
We do occasionally.
Occasionally. So you'll have special talks on it. Okay.
We have a monthly one with,
Stand up, Laura, and talk loud.
we have a lady that comes in, she's part of the organization, she started, she's my age. Her husband's been disabled for 11 years, and she takes care of him, she's delightful. Her name is Lynn Greenblatt. I took her over to Longleaf, she's starting to come It's the last Thursday of every month, 1:30 to 3:30. We have great treats. And you can just meet other people that are in a caregiving situation.
Great.
Yeah.
And then there's a group called Caregivers Cafe.
That's it.
That's
it.
Okay. Oh, that's Lynn.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go to Caregivers Cafe, you will find that they have caregiving groups all around the city where people can meet and they can talk and strategize. It's kind of like Weight Watchers. I used to go to Weight Watchers. They'd share the good menus and, things like that, the strategies. So I would definitely go to her website and see if there's some around. Yes, ma'am.
Lakewood Church has a caregivers group.
Great. So Lakeway Church has a caregivers group.
Open to the whole community. Right.
Right.
It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So Bobby, you said at night, you have caregivers that can come at night, so that the spouse can sleep and watch the.
We operate 24/7,
Really?
365.
Okay, and, do you take long-term care insurance or is this?
Great. This is a great question. I'm gonna say it into the mic so that the people at home hear. So she's asking, how do you pay for this? And so he's an expert, so he'll do the lowdown on it.
So yes, if you have long-term care insurance, most home care companies do accept that. Medicare does not pay for non-medical home care, just put that out there. If somebody's a veteran, there can be some assistance through the VA, although the hours are fairly limited. And then there's the private pay option, obviously. But yeah, you can get care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And I have the money.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have a question about the VA assistance to that.
Yeah.
Or do they have like a partial payment plan or, should I become in need of assistance?
So there are a couple different VA programs. One is called the Pension with Aid and Attendance Benefits. And that one is for, it has some qualifications, pre-qualifications. You have to serve in an active duty during a war. I think they haven't changed it much. I think the last group that was eligible for that were Vietnam veterans. I assume that you're a little older than that, in that group, you're in that group. So World War II, Korea, Vietnam, in that group. And then they also have a program called the HHA, so Home Health Aid Program. And that one doesn't cost anything to the veteran. All you need to do is get your primary care physician to sign off on the fact that you need help with at least 2 activities of daily living. And they will put you kind of in the queue, and the VA will call an agency like mine, say, hey, can you service John in zip code 78734? And it's as simple as that. And they give me an authorization. And typically, we just have to reauthorize once a year. But that's kind of a lifetime benefit as long as needed.
Since my primary physician is a VA physician at the clinic near the airport,
Even better.
I would just ask about that to her and find out what process needs to be gone through as I become more dependent on outside help.
Yes, it's even simpler when you're already a patient at the VA. Yeah.
So tell us about the activities of daily living, because you need to have 2 needs before you could qualify. So what are those activities?
That's correct. There's my answer.
No, I just said you can't dress, and you can't feed yourself.
Yeah.
So dressing, bathing, toileting, if you have issues with incontinence, grooming, and hair care, oral care, anything that would involve another individual having to assist you hands-on would be considered an activity of daily living.
Can you drive?
Can we drive?
No, if you have 2 needs that need to be met, can you also drive still, or is not driving one of the kind of things that the doctor's looking for?
Driving is not.
Okay.
It's not.
It's with home health.
It is
With home health.
Yeah.
But the VA would require all care to take place within the veteran's home.
Okay, and I think the benefit of this is what they're trying to do is help people age in place so that they're not moving into communities and doing it at a less expensive
That's correct.
level, yeah. And then also the benefit is good for the veterans spouse.
The aid and attendant.
Okay.
Yes, so if you're a surviving spouse of a veteran, even though the benefit is less than if you're the veteran themselves, you could be eligible as well. And we help people through the eligibility process. It's fairly simple, but we also have a third-party company that gets involved, and they do all of the paperwork and legwork. We just kind of go out and find the person that we need, and they kind of hold your hand and help you through the process.
And you have cards in the back, so if anybody has questions about that. Or they're in the front.
They're probably in my pocket,
They're in his pocket. Well,
but I'll be
cards.
signing autographs and giving them.
Yes, I'll be signing his book later. Did you have a question?
Well, I did have a long-term care insurance.
Okay, so what is your question about long-term?
Well, I have it, but I've never thought about it, using it at home. I'd always thought about it as going into assisted living.
So I'm gonna restate the question unless you want to.
So I've got a comment about long-term care.
Okay, great.
So the first thing I would tell people about long-term care is if you got it, and if you don't have it, you might want to look at some other options. But the first thing I tell people is, everyone's got a drawer at home. Who doesn't? I tell people, don't pull out everything in the drawer and organize it so you know what you have. Particularly in the case of long-term care policies, because most of the ones that have been purchased, particularly in our age group, have purchased a long time ago, right? So you don't even realize that because it's in the drawer, right? So pull everything out of the drawer. Let's figure out what you got. And then because they're varying different coverages, I think the lowest amount of, I almost use the word worse, but even worse is better than nothing. I think the lowest amount of coverage I've seen is like $55 a day. And the best one I've seen is like $450. So it's a pretty broad range. But know what you have first. So don't wait until you need it. And again, most of the long-term care companies will require that you need assistance with 2 activities of daily living before they actually authorize you to start using it. And some have an exclusionary period, so you may have to wait 90 days before you can use it.
But there's a whole strategy and you have to look at it and make the plan. Because sometimes the plan is in-home care for the exclusion time period, pay for some in-home, but I'm not an expert. But just have an expert sit down with you, plan it out so you know what you want to do.
But you said you could still, some of them, you could still drive, but you would have other areas that you can't handle, whether it's bathing or whatever, but you could still have the ability to drive and use your long-term health care. That's good.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Bobby, somebody online is asking, is there a minimum amount of hours that you will work with
Great
someone?
question.
Great question. So the answer is yes. We do have both daily and weekly minimums, and they're pretty reasonable. Our daily minimum is 4 hours a day, and our weekly minimum is 8 hours per week. But we do also offer temporary care for less than those, for less than those hours, but it's at a little higher rate. That makes sense.
And what are the rates?
They start about $32 an hour and can go up to probably 50, depending on the circumstances.
I know, Bobby, I asked you years ago, not how do you spend your time, but we had a conversation about how your day is spent. And it seemed like a lot of your time is spent on finding good caregivers, and that's really kind of the struggle. So tell us a little bit about finding those good caregivers, and he specializes out in this area, so.
So finding good caregivers is an art, not a science. And I have a dedicated recruiter who does that for me. But I can tell you the caregiver shortage is real. You may have called home care companies and they told you, well, yeah, we're short on caregivers. Because a lot of caregivers after the pandemic didn't come back. We don't know where they went, but they didn't come back. And we lost a few ourselves. People are starting to come back. People with a true heart for caregiving are starting to come back. We've got some people who are starting to enter the healthcare field from things like being a waitress in a restaurant. I go out, I get service, good service somewhere, I give them my card. I'm recruiting my wife says, do you ever start recruiting? I say, no. Not as long as our doors are open. But yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon because, I was just at a meeting in New Orleans last week and they were saying that the ratio nationally for caregivers to clients, and this is FirstLight, is about 0.94 to 1. So in other words, we've got less than one caregiver for each client. And that puts a lot of pressure on, particularly when you're trying to bring on new people. And I've got some people who work 40 to 60 hours a week already. Those people will work more. It's the ones who only want to work 4 to 8 hours a week are the ones that kind of become the challenge, but we find a place for them.
People are asking also where all you cover
Oh,
geographically.
geographically. So primarily Travis, but we also operate in Williamson, Hayes, and Bastrop.
So you go out to Marble Falls.
We do not.
Okay. And so you kind of specialize in this Bee Cave, Lake Travis. This is where you live and.
That's where I live. But I'll tell you, our clients are everywhere. Our office is actually in Westlake Hills
Okay.
on BK's Road.
Okay.
I say I use my office to keep files in. I don't spend much time there. And my care coordinator's out. We're either meeting with clients, we're meeting with caregivers, we're meeting with prospects. It's kind of an ongoing thing. So I spend most of my time in my car. Kind of like I did when I first met.
Yeah, well, it kind of sounds like me. I'm on Zoom calls in my car all the time. Thank, any other questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Bobby, do you
Hi.
guys do an in-home consultation to create that plan of care? What does that look like? The call, is there a service fee?
Perfect question. We do complimentary in-home assessments. So all we do is schedule an appointment with the family, try to get as many people that are going to be involved in the care decision at the meeting. And typically we can get those done in an hour or less because when the family calls, we kind of know that they already need us. Every now and then somebody will call and say, oh yeah, 6 months from now, I'm thinking about doing this. But most of the time, they want to start within a week. So yeah, we go out and do those. And we typically can start care within a week after that, depending on the situation and where they live. Now, if they live in some hard to staff areas like Dripping Springs and even Lakeway has become a challenge because our caregivers don't live in. And so transportation, like Cyndi talked about, is a challenge, but we can typically staff within a week.
So sometimes I'll meet with families and they'll say, we need to put mom in a home. And so I'll say, okay, well, and normally you'll have one child who feels that way and another child's like, mom's totally fine at home. She left the oven on and everything burnt on it. And, but the other kid, normally one doesn't live here and the other one does. The one who's taking care of them is like, we need help. And the other one who doesn't live here is like, mom's fine. So oftentimes I'll recommend that they have a geriatric social worker. What is they changed their name.
Care specialists or
Care managers, of which we have several in our group, come and do an assessment. This is what brought it up. They will come and do a formal assessment of the house. Look at the house. If you had grab bars, you could stay longer. If you did this, you could stay longer. And really make a long-term plan for the family. And it helps when you have family members who are not in agreement about what they think the next plan should be. So a geriatric care manager, you can go online. They have a society of them, but we also have several people in our directory and they're awesome. They charge you, but they will come in and they will say, your plan is to stay here for 10 years. The first year you need to do this. The second year you need to do this, and they'll give you a plan. And so it's really helpful. So I'm just going to go into just some of the physicalness of things in your home. But we are going to have a whole seminar talking about building or remodeling your home, and that's in the fall. So these are just kind of quick suggestions if you want to stay in your home. I will hear this. I need to move because I have stairs. Well, their bedroom is upstairs, their master's upstairs, which we see quite a bit in the Hill Country to take advantage of the views. And so, I should be trying to sell a house, but I'm always like, well, you could convert this game room into your master and there's a bathroom right here. So we kind of start that conversation about how, hey, why don't you just take the downstairs whatever and make it into your master. And there's actually a group of professionals that help you do these kind of modifications. And the certification is called CAPS. They're Certified Aging in Place Specialist. And you can go to the Home Builders Association of Austin, and they have all of them listed there. Some of them are physical therapists. Some of them are decorators. Some of them are home builders. Some of them are remodelers. They all come from different backgrounds. So it's really fascinating, and they can come to your house and they can help you do modifications. Although I have some good ideas, I don't think of everything. So stairs is another reason why people feel like they need to move. I think buying stock in elevator companies is a brilliant idea. Because I just think, gosh, if you just add an elevator on the outside, you'd be okay. Or, you know, those, the chair lifts. And so are those chair lifts covered under veterans benefits? I feel like they can be. I think they can be. So they're not real pretty, but boy, they sure do work. So that's another thing to think about. When I walk into a house, I always look at the throw rugs. That's the first thing I'm like, get the throw rugs up off the floor. What is the percentage of people who fall that never return home? It's like,
What's the leading cause of accidental death?
it's the leading cause of accidental, and it's so solvable. Pick up your throw rugs and then have your dogs, I don't know, not underfoot. Don't want to fall.
So I attended, and I remember seeing a couple of you there. They had some seminars at Baylor Stein White, these kind of quick help seminars at the hospital. And one of the statistic that I remember was that like 60% of people who break a hip die within 6 months. And the
And
reason,
never return home.
and the reason for that is because they lose their mobility and their organs shut down.
So throw rugs, yeah, they're pretty, pick them up. Clutter, I work a lot, I'm actually a downsizing coach, and so I do work a lot with people who are hoarders. But clutter, it's, you know, stacks of newspapers and things like that can be another fall risk. Or lighting, and that's an easy thing to control. You can bring in like this little side lights in the hallway that will turn on when you're walking the hallway to use the restroom. Slippery floors, even the design now, some of these floors are slippery. I'm like, a new house and they're slick as can be. It's crazy. Cords and wires. That lamp in the middle of the room and it's got that wire. Some modifications that you might want to consider would be grab bars, walk-in shower or tub, the lever style door. That's huge, you guys. Just that alone, instead of turning knobs, put on the lever. Am I using that? Because everybody's kind of looking at me like,
Yep.
but it really can help you. You can use your elbow or whatever. Widening doorways for wheelchair access. If you're going to do a remodel, think about that. If you can stay in your home longer. There are door hinges now that allow the doors to open wider. And this is what that CAPS expert can help you with. You have somebody who's in a wheelchair and they keep on dinging or can't get through the door and you think, I gotta take the whole door jamb out. No, there's some things that you can do. Move the master to the main floor. Ramps, the houses, sometimes those are covered and nonprofits will come in and help you do ramps. Raised toilets, game changer. That is a game changer. Handheld shower head really can make it nice for people bathing. Moving dishes and toiletries to lower levels where you can reach. We have somebody who does those drawers that you pull open and all your plates are there. I know my mom, it's really hard for her to lift up high. If she could just open a drawer and get a plate, I mean, that's a game changer there. One thing when you're doing a remodel, it's really sad for me. I'll come in and people say, okay, I'm gonna put the house on the market. And they want to do all these modifications for when they're selling. And what I would say is, if your intention is to stay in the house, do your remodel now. Enjoy your new carpet, your new counter, you know, but take into consideration some of these ADA things that the CAPS person can help you with. Okay, that's kind of all I have. You have anything else to add?
I was just gonna show you my favorite device that is really helpful, and I bought one for everyone in my family. It's on Amazon, they're $9.99. Have you seen the toilet lights?
No.
It's so silly, but it's a little light that hangs on the toilet bowl. And when you come into the room in the dark, it lights up the entire toilet in different colors, which is really fun. It's the best thing though. It actually makes quite a bit of light. It when you come in the door, it lights up.
That's
So,
great.
for those of us who get up in the night to go to the bathroom,
Yes.
it's a great way to really find your way. And it's
$9.99.
$9.99.
Just for you
ridiculously
today.
fun. Yeah.
Do you have any questions online?
They asked, how do you get an aging parent to understand how dangerous throw rugs are? My mom loves her rugs.
Okay, the question is, how do you get your parents to understand about the throw rugs? You want to say something? It's like right there.
I'm just thinking science, data, go out there and research. I think putting it right in front of somebody and saying that falls are the leading cause of accidental death in older adults. This is something, who was it the other day that fell and's been out for months? Mitch McConnell fell and hit his head. He's been out for a month. You cannot underestimate how much a fall will completely change your life. So I think part of it is going back to the science. Stop nagging, go to the science and see if you can show it there.
And what I find works with older adults is to have somebody who is an authority speak to them. So you might call the doctor and say, hey, we're coming in today for blah, 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 thyroid test or whatever. Do you mind talking about falls while we're there? Because then they're the authority and that makes a difference to some older adults. Any other? No? Yes, ma'am.
I just got a comment. My husband and I have been talking about rugs.
Yes.
And we moved here about a year and a half ago from Colorado Springs, and we bought our home sight unseen. Based on my son, his say so. But the carpet in there is really light, it's plush and it's light. And so my husband said, well, we don't want to have these track lines going from the kitchen to the bedroom. Let's get a rug that we can put down on top of the carpet. Well, we got this really nice rug from Home Depot, and it's colorful, brings color into the room, but it has these kinks in it.
Oh my God.
They should get out.
Girl, get that thing, roll that thing up and throw it up.
And I said, Phil, maybe we better just to get someone to come in and clean the carpet several times a year. Rather than take a chance.
Yes.
And when I get up out of a chair, tripping on this carpet, it has this kink.
Yeah.
And so what a timely.
You were meant to be here today.
I know, I wish he was here. He's gotten me right now.
Watch it online, we're on YouTube.
He wants to cut it up and just have it in a section, but that's still.
No,
it's worse.
No.
It's worse.
We're with you, we support you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What about life alert devices?
Oh, life alert devices, great question. What's kind of the new thing that you're seeing that people?
Well, Life Alert is always amazing, and there's lots of companies that do that. I would highly recommend something like that. There's also some of your cell phones now. Apple phones in particular have some fall stuff with them. So if you move and fall and you've got your phone, it will detect that and notify somebody. So some of the phones, the watches, yeah. So you with the Life Alert, are you thinking of the Apple Watches and all of that? Yes, yeah, the Apple Watches as well. We're going to be putting a Google Dot or one of the little Google Minis or Alexa kind of things in my mother's house. One of the things that we realized she was doing at night is putting her cell phone across the room at night to charge. Brilliant. But with this, she'll be able to say, if she fell or if she had an emergency, she can say Google call and actually just talk out loud. So there's a lot of new technologies that you can implement for less. I think those are $50 one-time fee kind of thing. So, think about those types of tools that might be a little bit cheaper, but even a Life Alert, I think maybe $30-40 a month.
They're only as good as you wear them.
Yes.
Because, if you don't wear that darn thing, you're in trouble. Yes.
Before you leave, Life Alert, I live alone and my daughter-in-law is talking to me about that's not good. And so I didn't realize I have United Healthcare, and I didn't realize it was free.
I didn't realize it was so easy. So when I put the phone down, within about a week, I had this stuff, but I made a mistake of getting the run around my neck. Which I don't like,
Okay,
and I never used it.
Yeah.
Because it was always across the blade. So I said, I've been hearing people talk about the one around your wrist. And so within 4 or 5 days, I got that, and now I've sent the other one back. But no one even needs to know.
oh,
that I have it.
yeah, yeah.
And it's good around the house, not, and I guess in the vicinity of the house, but not away. I couldn't use it here.
Oh, okay, so if you fell here, it wouldn't alert, but if you fell at home, it
And
would.
kind of related to that about people, about what they like to wear and what they don't. I just like to, you maybe have said this because I came in a little late. And that is, many of us have canes that we don't use.
Yes.
And for pride, you know, I don't want my friend to see it. I never walk without a walking stick. That seems like a lot of times. I will take the chance, like I did today at the park, and I didn't bring my cane. And here's the thing about canes that I've heard, because I haven't lived it, and that is, if you don't use your cane when you should, you're not gonna get hurt. You're gonna die.
Oof.
A lot of people are dying because of these investments.
And a cane is cheap. I mean, I'll buy anybody a cane who needs
Oh,
cane.
those
You can
folding
get
ones, those folding canes are
Simple.
perfect. And you know, when you travel, if you still travel, I don't, but the last times I traveled, you know, it's easy to fold up with your space, but I walk up to the airlines and they say, come on. And I walk right in with the people in wheelchairs and everything else and sit wherever I want to sit.
I do love traveling with my mom. I do for that reason. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we all our Humana plans have the free personal emergency response system monitoring too, and you can also order a cane.
Awesome.
Whatever plan you have, it's good to take a look and see, that's all.
But you don't want to look at the plan online because your head will explode. So call your agent, Maya or Scott. Okay, any other questions?
You can also call, I have a security system,
Uh-huh.
Rick's gives me the free one.
Okay.
Nice.
You do have to negotiate, like you're gonna leave if they don't give you one, but. So, it's included now, with no charge,
Love it.
and it's not, you don't have to charge it.
Great. Great.
I was just gonna add, about the handout that I brought on emergency
Yes,
preparedness.
please. Yes.
So how many of you went without water and electricity in our major ice storm a few years ago? Yeah, a lot of us did, and older adults were impacted more than anybody, really. We actually had several deaths in Austin from people who literally froze in their homes. So I brought with me, it's just a basic sheet about emergency preparedness. Really think about these. There's a list on one side of what you should have in your house as sort of a prep kit. And it's just very simple. It's, you know, a few days worth of food, a few days worth of water, flashlight, a blanket, you know, just something that you've got a kit in the closet when something happens like this. There were people that literally went 2 weeks without, you know, being able to get out, without any water, without entire assisted livings were evacuated. I mean, it was a really, really tough time. So we've been trying to get the word out and make sure that people have what they need to protect yourself and your pets. So don't forget your pets.
Which table you have?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
right
I brought 20 copies of.
They're right up here. There's still
Okay,
some
the
up there.
clips are left.
And we've got information in the back from our other members. They're back there. What I do want to say about Amy is she is actually the chairman of the Commission of Aging for the city of Austin. So she just took that position. And so she is crazy. She's wonderful and crazy. We're so happy that she's there. But she was instrumental in helping to coordinate getting water to people. I mean, that was one of the biggest problems was water. And so she was on the phone and the internet, and we had Facebook pages, and we were getting water donated and restaurants taking water to people. And again, we had some failures in our systems, but we all have to help each other. And so she just took that on herself. So I think that's why she's trying to get out this emergency preparedness.
Then I don't have to do that.
Yeah, so she's not have to worry about you at home on your own. Sir, did you have a question in the back?
Yes, what do you keep a list of this website, you know, where you can find out?
Oh, well, we've got this, our directory. And then Amy has information up here, and then Bobby's gonna take his cards out of his pocket and put them up
I
here.
got some brochures in the back.
And he's got some brochures, and we're gonna stick around. So if you have specific questions for any of us, please come. And then in the fall, we're gonna talk specifics about things to do in your home. So it's gonna be a really great seminar. Can't wait to see you then. So we'll see you next month in May. Thank you all.